Alrighty, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Hajim Zero here, back with another quick movie review. Um, this one is kind of one of my favorites, but it's still a little bit iffy on because of the realism, But again, I'll talk about that as I'll go through the review. This is Full Metal Jacket, written and directed by Stanley Kubrick. It stars Vincent D'Onofrio. Pardon me if I'm butchering their names. Matthew Modine, Ermey, and Stephen Baldwin. There's some more actors in this. I think one of the black soldiers was Dorian something, but he's a known actor in Hollywood. As a matter of fact, Denzel had auditioned for his part, and apparently he regretted not taking it because it's a classic war film now, next to Platoon and Apocalypse Now and Tora Tora. But this is pretty much a Vietnam War story. It shows the main character by the name of Private Joker, and he's pretty much going through the training, and then he shipped off to Vietnam. I think the guy that plays Cowboy as well, he is also a known actor. He was the villain in The Lost World Jurassic Park. He was John Hammond's nephew. I can't remember his name, but that's who he is in this. Pretty much it's just showing the whole mentality of what Marines go through. Some of it really is, of course, not really fake, but there were certain things that are portrayed in the movie that are just for the film. They really don't happen. I think on the audio commentary with Ermey, he was saying that the drill sergeant would never choke a private or whatnot. Yeah, he'll come down hard on him and start yelling at him and making vile and messed up threats and talking shit, but he wouldn't physically, do that. At least back then when he was there, he wouldn't. I've heard different stories where people put up a pink, whatchamacallit, the pink slip if the drill sergeant's going in too hard. And the thing is, I'm not a military guy. I almost went, kind of thought about it, but a little small secret. I ain't gonna say that because I think my mom's probably gonna watch this eventually and be mad at me. But I was really gonna go for the Army. The two hardest branches to get in the American military is the Air Force and the Marines. The Air Force, I think you really have to be super, super smart, and you want to be militaristic while you do it. Even though I think the Marines the most talk shit about them, but on the ASVAB test, the altitude test you take, you have to score really, really high, and a certain score to be there. With the Marines, it's more of the physical part. Like in the movie, what the movie said, they kind of want killers. They want someone to take a shot and kill. No question about it. But those are the pretty much the ones who are like Black Ops soldiers and Navy SEALs. I believe most of them, I'm assuming they come from Marine, branch of background, because they are like the toughest. Like they have the hardest training and this, that, and the other. At least that's what it's like today. I don't know what it was back in the 60s, because at that time they were trying to ship a lot of Americans over there, and that's a whole horror story by itself. And what I like about Stanley Kubrick with this particular film, it really showed the horrors of war from even before the soldiers get there. Unlike Apocalypse Now, where the character goes to get a renegade soldier and it's deep in the jungle. We mostly see what's in the jungle in Vietnam, or I think in at least Southeast Asia. And from some of the stories that even me personally, I had to interview for my comic book of what they told, and a little bit of fiction that had inspiration. One of these movies, of course, of how the Viet Cong would kill certain people. They would put they would get kids to put grenades in the soldiers' boots. They're all kind of like fucked up shit. So even the ones who I talked to, I was very questionable about what I asked, because PTSD is a real thing, and it just sucks that, you know, even though you've seen those monstrosities, 9 times out of 10, what gives a person a nice little mellow edge is if they do talk about it and it's like their therapy. But the good thing about listening to the audio commentary, they're really saying of how and this is going to go into a Batman fan theory, I think around the end of this review, but really with Private Joker, one of the most iconic things from the movie's promotional revenue was his helmet that said "Born to Kill," and I want to say his rifle was there. I know the helmet was definitely there, like the poster, and the of course his rifle, and then it had the peace, the hippie peace emblem on there, and even in the movie, about two of the characters question him on it. One of them, I think, yeah, one of he becomes a journalist. He's like writing all the stories. Even the commander, the one that he's working with, I believe, had asked him. And then when they go out and they do this report, and I think Pao Hay, I could be mispronouncing that, but in one of the areas they're supposed to be vacating or bombing or whatever, one of the commanding officers asked him the same thing, but he's more vile about it, So, they were saying, how would it look if you get killed with a "Born to Kill," thing on your helmet, and then you have a peace symbol, and what oh, hold on, got to yawn. And then what somebody said was it was a certain look at bipolarism, if you can say, certain esque, that it is kind of weird. If I was going into battle, I wouldn't even have a cross on me, or put it like this, I would have the cross on me, but it wouldn't be visible. So, I might do what some of the soldiers would, put it in my boot in case my head gets blown off, or I seen that in one of the war movies. The dude did that with his dog tags, and he said he's doing that in case his head gets blown off so he could be identified. And I was like, wow, that's gotta suck. But the good thing I like about the movie, Ermey, he was a real drill sergeant in Vietnam, and looked in a little bit more of his acting history. Right after he had retired, he was still in the Philippines, and he did some acting theater stuff over there, and then his first gig was Apocalypse Now. And then I guess Francis Ford Coppola and Stanley Kubrick were talking, and he had told him about him and cast him in the main role for this. But Ermey, he's a good actor. I even modeled one of my characters after him, of course, is one of the military guys. But he has a lot of Army, militaristic roles. The other one I could think of, he was the Sarge in Toy Story, that kid's animated movie, and he was another drill-like sergeant in The Frighteners. And there's another movie I'm drawing a blank on where he had another military background. But anyway, the most notable role that I think I remember him for was the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And trying to think of another film. Oh, he did a civil rights movie with Michael Rooker from The Walking Dead, Mississippi Burning. He didn't play a hick in that, but he did play a little bit of a hick in the movie Life, where like around the end of the movie with Martin and Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. He played a hick in that, but most likely it's kind of funny how he plays these hick roles, but it just bounces back and forth. And he just had a nice commanding presence. It's just that you can really tell he was a hard ass. I thought when I first seen him, I think it was a movie Life I seen him in, and I started later seeing him more in military roles. I was like, I wonder if this dude really been in the Army, since I see him casting. And then people come out and say, yeah, or you go on YouTube, they have of him, of all of his works. Stephen Baldwin, he pretty much plays the character that was similar to like Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio's character was pretty much playing on how a soldier can crack in basic training and just go crazy. And a lot of of PTSD people, they had some kind of military background, whether they were in the Marines or they were in the Army. Most likely the Marines. Some of the cases where I hear with people like they snap, they were in the Marine Corps, and especially in the other movie Brothers with Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal. If you see that one, the dude was in the Marine, but his PTSD, it came from him from killing one of his own, and it was just a messed up, situation. Even though the whole movie was a flip, and this one, the reason why I mentioned Stephen Baldwin, because he played a character named Animal Mother who was just like pretty much Vincent D'Onofrio's character, except he didn't go crazy. You can speculate that when he did his training and everything, he excelled. He wanted to do this, and plus, looking at Vincent D'Onofrio's character and during the training, he was a heavy set dude. Even though I've seen heavy set people move quick, you still have to be a certain weight when you join, or they won't accept you. 9 times out of 10, they may curve the edge. Say like if you're a pound, 1 pound off or 1 pound over, but doing those obstacle courses, even looking at it, the good thing is that I'm thin. I can possibly do it, but not at a quick speed. But I can still get my leg over a fence or something like that. I wouldn't have that much trouble, But with the basic training, that's pretty much a good thing. I can see the discipline in that. I would have loved it to do it, but like I said, my issue was the ASVAB. And the messed up thing with the ASVAB now is that, say if you really are good, they're going to keep asking you harder questions. So if you really, really do want to join and get in, yeah, they really do make it not really tough, but at the same time, you really have to like not rush through it. And even that's tricky because I think every single section of the ASVAB, you're pretty much timed. But pretty much it's a really a story about humanity. And despite of all the racial stuff that's being said in the film, of course it's propaganda, and it's the 1960s at the time where the civil rights movement was at a little bit in the height. But this particular movie, I don't know when in the 60s it had took place, so they really don't get that much of a time frame. But you pretty much get the gist that it's Vietnam, and even the music that's being played at the time. So for people, a lot of people in the older generation, I think in my mom's generation, I've seen this movie. I think the movie that indirectly kind of replaces for my generation was Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jamie Foxx, which was about the Gulf War. Personally, I haven't seen it. Only seen like bits and pieces, but it was a little bit of the same thing. It's pretty much a modern day version, a little bit of this. That's just my speculation. Again, I could be wrong. But if you want me to review that one, just go ahead and put that in the comment box. Now, my favorite part about this, and you heard it from me saying this first, when the first time I saw this, I think about a year ago with a few of my friends, and then we were talking about the theory between The Dark Knight and this film. So ironically, I would say off the bat, they're distributed by the same people, which is Warner Brothers. So if you guys seen The Dark Knight, with the character of the Joker, it's interpreted that he might have had some kind of military background. Of course, he knew a lot about soldiers, and then when he said his line about when people are expecting certain people to die, or a bus full of soldiers blowing up or something like that, I'm just paraphrasing. A mutual friend of mine, and we're somewhat decent friends today, but anyway, he was pretty much saying, well, I said it first, what if those two Jokers are the same ones? And ironically, the character's name, his nickname is Private Joker, and it goes with the whole bipolarism, and with him wearing the Born to Kill and the peace symbol. And then at the same time, you can flip it and say, when he was telling different stories about how he got his scars or his background, it would change every single time. And even in the comics of DC, with the Joker himself, he said that most of the time I do like it to be multiple choice. We really don't know his full origin. That kind of gave gave him one in Red Hood, but we really don't know if that one's really true. But to take it even further than that, you can technically say those two characters are the same. But my friend had challenged me even further, and he has said it'll be impossible because that Joker will be a little bit older. From when we see him in The Dark Knight. From the 1960s to 2008. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But if you really think about it, dude did say it was his father. So what if this character in the movie is really Joker's real father and he had abused him when he came back? Yeah, and again, it makes sense, with the whole bipolarism, the born to kill and the peace symbol. And of course, he must have picked up on his father's name, his nickname in the Marines. So, I bet you someone has already came up with this theory already. I don't know if I'm the first to even say it, but it didn't dawn on me until, we were sitting there really watching it. And then, I don't know how many times. Yeah, I think we did just watch it once. I think we paused it a couple of times to have a little bit of discussion and to get something to eat or whatnot. But, the more and more I thought about it, the more the pieces had came in. I think the next day at work, then I told him, what if it's not really him, but it's really his father we're seeing on screen? And, and it goes back with PTSD in the Marines. He possibly would abuse his son. His son grew up to be the Joker that we saw in The Dark Knight. So, again, I might come back to that same theory depending on, if people listen to this video and they see that. There's multiple, fan film theories. I heard one about Get Out the other day. It connected with another movie with the mom. That was the girlfriend's mom from another film because it was the same actress. It's just film theories are fun. A lot of them make sense, but some of them are completely left field. But anyway, that's all I pretty much have to say about this film, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.